The Adventure Jogger, a podcast about trail and ultra running. Meet fascinating runners from the front, middle, and back of the pack, sharing inspiring and funny stories about life and running. Running should be fun, and so should running podcasts. I'm your host, Valan Kornhaus, and this is The Adventure Jogger. On today's episode of The Adventure Jogger Podcast, I have a guest that has accomplished nothing. No, I only say that because she said it before we started recording. Anyway, my wife is on the podcast tonight, Valan Kornhaus, and she has done some pretty cool things and has a good story as well. So excited to chat with my wife. Valan, welcome to the podcast.
It's about time. I mean, I only live here and all.
Yeah.
Having me on.
I know. So anyway, a lot of people know a little bit about you from my YouTube channel. Yeah.
A lot of people know a little bit about. Okay.
From she's had some videos on my channel, some pretty focal point of those videos as well. So but for those listeners that may not know Valan, tell us how you got into running. Like, were you always a runner? It's weird asking you this question. I know these answers already. It's like
Well, so I started running in high school. I was on the track team. I was a mediocre hurdler at best. My coach always wanted me to run distance. They thought I would be better at distance. They were probably right, but the one and only distance race that I ever did in high school was the mile. And I distinctly remember running around the track. It was probably lap 3 of 4 for the mile race. And I looked my coach dead in the eye. I said, "Don't you ever make me do this race again." And I was dead serious. I thought that was the longest distance I would ever run.
Was that the only time you ran a mile, or did you run it any more after that?
No,
As far as at a track, okay.
No.
Do you remember what your time was?
It was probably, I think it was like 8 minutes.
That was, you say high school?
In high school.
Wow.
Yeah, because when I was in high school, we were just breaking like the 5-minute mile. That was a huge thing in high school track, just to prove how mediocre I really was at track and field.
That's crazy. Yeah, because now you got high schoolers that are low 4s. I think there's even been some high schoolers that, I don't know if they've broken 3 yet or into the 3s, but they're low 4s. That's nuts. So you didn't like running a mile? Didn't like?
No, it was too far.
That was distance.
Yeah, I never did cross country. I didn't understand why those people would want to run in a field. I thought that was stupid. Yeah, that was about it.
But now you're a trail runner.
And now I'm a trail runner.
An ultra runner.
Actually, I think it was about probably 6 years ago now. I emailed my track coach and I said, I think I'm a distance runner now. This was probably right when I did my first 50K, and she thought that was hilarious.
Well, did you run all through high school?
Yeah, I started my freshman year. My friend talked me into it, and then she quit sophomore year, but I did it all 4 years. I lettered, which apparently in track isn't very difficult to do. Yeah, and I never made it to state. I don't think I made it to county, so there was no going to college for running.
Yeah, because you went to the University of South Carolina.
Yep.
And didn't run at all in college. I mean,
just in general?
Yeah, at all, really.
No, I didn't at all.
You spent most of your time partying?
Yeah. It was fun times in my college years.
Yeah.
Sport was not a part of that.
Was drinking a sport? I mean,
I played a mean beer pong.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Well, when did you get back into running? Like, what brought you back to running?
So I graduated from college, was in a general crisis of identity. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I didn't want to do what I went to school for, which incidentally was a major in psychology. So I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I bounced around a couple jobs. I think I was, 22. I was 22.
What?
When I joined the Army.
I was 24. So yeah, you would have been 22 or 23.
I'm going to need you to help fill the details for me. So when I was 22, I was just done with trying to figure things out. And so I decided to join the military. And I think it was probably, I don't know, maybe a month before I was supposed to ship off. And I was like, maybe I should try to run a little bit.
And so that was 2008.
Yes. And I only ran probably over that month, maybe a couple miles total. So basic was an interesting physical.
Yeah, I bet so. Yeah. So I know that's kind of the same reason I joined the Army was, a crappy life situation as well. It seems to be a lot of people that join the Army get into it because they got nothing better going on in their lives.
Yeah, things weren't going real great in my life for the time.
Yeah. It worked out pretty well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So ran in the Army, but like you said, that was only a little bit till you got injured then after basic.
Well, I never liked running in the Army either. I don't know if anybody knows much about like the way they set up Army, but there's like A, B,
The way
C.
they set up Army.
Like the way they set up like Army.
Army.
So the PT running groups in the morning are based on how fast you run. And so there was like A, B, C, and D. And I always picked D. Until like I think it was
She likes the D. No?
This is gonna be interesting. Okay. So I always picked the slowest running group because I didn't like running. I wasn't very fast. And by this time we'd already met when this was in officer school.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we didn't mean basic.
No, we didn't mean basic. But in officer school, I remember because they made us run the 2 mile.
I was in A group.
We're in A group, yeah. And I ran it a lot faster than the sandbagging D group. And so they made me actually be in B group.
Yeah.
And I fell out of that run like 3 times. And I always had shin splints and I was always injured. In fact, I got out of the military after I fractured my foot.
On a ruck march.
In a ruck march. So my injury history is long and extensive.
Yeah, I guess I didn't think about that too. Yeah, but that was 2009.
Yeah.
When you actually, no, it was still 2008, wasn't it? Wasn't it December when you fractured your foot?
Because we got married in 2000.
Well, no, but because then you went on Christmas break.
Yeah.
And when you came back, weren't you still recuperating, or had you broken the foot yet at that point?
No, I broke the foot and came back, and I still wasn't healed.
Okay. Right. Yeah. Okay. So then, obviously, with broken foot, you get out of the Army. You pretty much stopped running, right? I mean, Yeah, I don't remember you running at all, really.
Nope.
Ever.
No, I had zero interest in running after that. No, I did run a couple times. We did the Knoxville 5K at some point.
Right. Actually, yeah, we did that in 2009 because you were pregnant with Zoe.
I was pregnant, yes.
Yeah, you were like 4 or 5 months pregnant, maybe. Maybe 3 months. I don't remember. Yeah, she was pregnant with our firstborn daughter. And yeah, we ran. That's right. The one that finished in Neyland Stadium. But that was when it actually finished inside the stadium. So we got to go on the 50-yard lines where the finish line was.
Yeah. Should we backtrack and tell that we met in the Army, got married? Is that part of the story?
I guess. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's, we met in officer school, like she said, and we were in the same platoon, and she, fell madly in love with me naturally, She sighs deeply.
You're all right. You're all right.
No, but yeah, and then we got married, and that's when our life started together in September of 2009 when we got married. So, yeah, anyway, you didn't run for ever other than, after that 5K when you were pregnant. No. I remember I ran another race in Knoxville sometime in, I think, 2009 or 10. I remember you were there spectating. I think you were further along pregnant at that point.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't think you ran at all, really, until... So when did you get back into running then? What brought you back to running?
So let's see, we had Zoe, Anders, and then after...
Declan was born in 2016.
When did you do...
That was 2017.
Okay. So it was after Declan was born. I think it was when you did the relay race that I got into running again.
Yeah, so I went out to Oregon with some friends and did the Cascade Lakes relay. And we came back sharing stories and telling inside jokes that happened on the run, and Valan experienced some FOMO.
Oh man, that's the story of my running career. It's a series of FOMO. So you came back, I wanted in, so I just started running.
Yeah, it would have been, I think it was July or August of 2017 when we did that race.
Yeah.
So sometime after that.
So I think I started with a 5K plan. I did the local 5K. I placed in my age group in that, I think, that year. because I got a medal.
What 5K was this?
The
In Knoxville or
Jamestown. Jamestown. Yeah, that 5K that they have over.
Oh, the
Pumpkin Run.
Pumpkin Run.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So that was my first 5K, and that was in 2000.
Oh gosh, that would have been probably October of 2017.
But Declan was born in 2016.
16.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it would have been 2017.
2017.
Okay.
So I did that race, and I was just doing road running. I was probably not running more than like 5K distances, maybe 10K distances. I don't think I had run more than like 10 miles. At all.
What? Oh yeah.
Just at all. And then when did you do the Georgia Death Race? There's a theme.
Well, no. Before that, I did in 2018.
Okay.
That's when I did the Ozone Endurance Challenge.
That was before the Georgia Death Race?
That was before the Georgia Death Race. My first.
I was pregnant again.
Yes.
So I had done a lot of running between that because I was pissed.
Yeah. So
I got pregnant.
So let's see. Katrin was born in August. And so you would have found out you were pregnant. That would have been December, right? Because it's 9 months, something like that.
Yes, because I had gotten really into running at that point. I was running probably 5-6 days a week, and I was really
running.
enjoying
Yeah, she was doing a lot, getting really fit, enjoying it,
doing speed work. I was training for a half marathon. I think was what I was training for, and then I got pregnant with our fourth kid. Yeah, very much a surprise. Yes. I really struggled during that pregnancy with a lot of like the depression and just it was not an easy.
It was tough. Yeah, because you were enjoying getting into running and hanging out with friends and running and all this going on, and then got sideswiped by a piss test.
Well, and I did run through that fourth pregnancy. What I didn't know at the time though was how your body reacts to pregnancy, especially if you've been pregnant like 4 times, like how loose all of those hip ligaments are. I just didn't know. And so I ran until it hurt.
Well, you were also wearing like a belly band brace thing that would go around the stomach and like supposed to hold things in a little bit. You did that for a few.
I didn't start with that until I started having pain.
Okay.
And then I was running anyway. And so I was having like hip pains.
Yeah.
And I just kept running. I just didn't know any better.
And that was going into 2018 then, because doing running when you're pregnant. Okay. Yeah. And then I ran the Ozone Endurance Challenge, and I can't remember when that was. Was that like?
It was in the summer. I was pregnant.
Yeah. Was that July? June?
That's right.
No, it was June. It was the beginning of June.
Okay. Yeah. Me pregnant.
And so she's there crewing. 8 months pregnant, 7 months pregnant.
Yes.
Crewing me. Well, we remember the pictures of you just like sitting in that lounger with your stomach so massive.
Belly. Yeah.
And then I finished the race, and when I guess so you had we had Katrin.
Right, Katrin in
August.
Yes.
The end of August. And then
also this all plays into my whole story. So at this point we had 4 kids. I was homeschooling. Our oldest and our second were in school age, and so I was homeschooling them. Homeschooling 2 kids with a 4th kid.
And Declan was 2 years old.
Only 2 years old. So there's some things happening. So I am doing that life. I wasn't running at that point because I just had Katrin. And then you leave about 3 weeks after Katrin is born for work.
That was when Hurricane Florence came through the Carolinas, and so I got deployed to North Carolina, not militarily deployed, but for my insurance job to go. So I was gone for 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
And it was okay.
So he's gone for 3 weeks with me in this swirling postpartum chaos. And I didn't know at the time that I had postpartum depression as well. So I'm just like bare knuckling through life with him gone, and then he comes back, and this isn't a.
Oh,
just hold on. Let me tell the story, and then I'll explain that part so you don't look bad. So he comes back from this work trip for 2 days.
I don't remember.
So 1 or 2 days, and then immediately turns around to leave to go do the Bourbon Chase relay race with all of our friends. Now, to give Stephen credit, I was supposed to run the race with them. We had signed up for the race before I found out I was pregnant.
Yeah.
And it's a very expensive race. He couldn't get out of it. And frankly, I didn't really show him how I was feeling at that point.
No, not at all. But I was also going to say too, like when I went for work, it wasn't like my company sent me.
Yeah.
I didn't just like,
Volunteer.
I wasn't leaving 3 weeks after the baby either. I'm not that big of an idiot.
No. But this is like
it's compounding.
Compounding the issues. And so I remember distinctly, like when you were gone, I was just during the Bourbon Chase, I just started, I strapped the baby to me on the front and I just started doing like stairs. I just started walking.
Going up and down the basement stairs.
Up and down the basement stairs. Like, I don't know what I was thinking, but I was like, I have to get back into shape. I'm like, and so I just compulsively was going, it really is not healthy. So you came back. I had a little bit of a meltdown. It was pretty sizable meltdown. And
that was still 2018. It would have been October 2018.
Yeah.
It was that Bourbon Chase. Okay.
And so I think it was about 6 weeks after catching that I was able to start running again.
Something like that. Yeah. I know as soon as you're like, I think you were cleared medically and you felt okay, you were like trying to get back out there because you wanted it. You were motivated.
I was running away from my children. I love them dearly, but at that point I was running away from them very aggressively. You
didn't get very far. No.
So that would lead up to, so I'm running, still trying to train again for a half marathon.
Mm-hmm.
When was the Georgia death race?
That was February of 2019.
Okay.
No. March.
Okay, that's before COVID.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, yeah, okay, February 2019.
So February 2019, I go with you to Georgia death race.
Crowing
at the death race. So the first race you had ever done was the
Ozone
Endurance Challenge, and that was like a looped course. And then the Georgia death race was the first race I went to that was like cruise moving and going spot to spot and like the whole trail.
Yeah, I think I had done Cloudland Canyon 50K before that.
But I didn't.
I went by myself.
Yeah.
Right.
So Georgia death race was the first time I'd really been in like the trail running scene.
Yes.
And I loved it. I loved all the people. I loved the food, like seeing all the food. I was like, wow, people are eating snacks. People are drinking beers. Like crewing races is probably one of my favorite things to do.
It is a lot of fun.
So while you're out running this race, I'm like on Ultra Sign Up. I'm scanning Ultra Sign Up, finding looking for a 50K. Now, mind you, I hadn't run on trails ever, not even once at this point.
Yeah, do you remember when the first trail race or the first time you ran on trail was?
Yeah, I'm getting.
You do? Okay.
I'm getting there. So I commit to doing what race?
Was it Bellringer?
The Bellringer.
The Bellringer 50K and was it somewhere in Tennessee?
Because it was before COVID.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, this was in December of 2019.
Yeah. So it was like 8 months. I had 8 months.
Yeah.
Okay. 8 months to run a 50K.
To train up for a 50K.
To train for a 50K. Right. And I had never run on trails before. So I signed up for the race that day.
During the Georgia death race?
Georgia death race. And then next week I go for my first trail run.
Okay.
It was a 4, and I was terrified.
Where'd you go?
I went to Point Trail.
Oh, the Lily Bluff Point.
Lily Bluff Trail by our house. So it was like a 4-mile trail run. I'd never ran trails before in my life, and I was just terrified.
What was terrifying?
I was afraid I was going to fall off a cliff. Like
there were actually legitimate cliffs out there.
I was just terrified that something terrible was going to happen. And that was like also because I drove out there by myself, and I did this run, and they have like this huge overlook, and I was like, this is amazing. I don't think I fell, so that was good.
Yeah.
But that was my first trail run after I had signed up for a 50K and before I'd ever run a half marathon.
Sounds about right. I mean, definitely sounds right. So you continue running through that would have been the summer, the fall, and you get to, now, well, hold on a minute. You ran a half marathon.
I did a half trail marathon.
Trail?
No,
it was road. You did the,
no, I did.
What'd you do the Secret City?
That was a 5K.
Oh.
That was way after.
Oh.
I did Xterra.
Was that before that?
True. I figured you'd have my Ultra sign up here. You do it
well,
with everybody else.
Xterra's not on that, is there?
I don't know. You need to do your research. I'm not supposed to remember these things. You are.
Yeah. Anyway, you did. So the first, that would have been that. So the first trail race you did would have been the Xterra Trail Marathon at Panther Creek State Park, I think it was.
Marathon?
Not the marathon, but the half marathon. You did the half marathon.
I think it was shorter than a half marathon. I think it was like
I don't remember now. 15K maybe?
maybe, because I don't think it's a half marathon, because that road half marathon I did was my first half
Yeah.
marathon.
Okay.
Anyway, I hurt my ankle on that race. Remember, I had a brace on.
That's right. Yeah, I do remember that.
So I hurt my ankle. And then that was supposed to be a training run for the 50K, which was
Your ankle or your knee you hurt?
is my ankle.
Okay.
Is my ankle. So that healed up just in time for me not to train properly for the 50K.
You'll start to see a pattern evolve.
So I go into the 50K slightly undertrained, but it was okay. I felt okay for the most part, except 10 miles into the race, I fell.
That you're talking about bell ringer now,
Bell
right?
ringer.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
So we're fast forwarding to December
of 2019.
2019 is the bell ringer 50K.
Yes.
So 10 miles in, I fall and damage something in my knee.
And keep in mind too, like my best friend Lee was running with her, kind of like pacing her through this because this was her first 50K. I think this was actually his first 50K.
No, he just agreed to run it with me because he's a good friend and we're running fast.
Yeah, that was why I got third place in that.
Yeah, he did great.
Anyway, okay, so you fell, hit your knee.
Hit my knee, and so I was having this really terrible pain down the side of my knee the whole race. I had to walk a bunch. I'm going down hills in like tears. There's a video of me like walking backwards down the stairs, and I'm just crying. It ended up being like a 9-hour, like just under cutoff, 9-hour.
Yeah, I got to interject here though, because like I remember, I specifically remember this. So I finished this race several hours before you, a long time, because I got third place. And I remember calling Lee because I was like worried, like, where are they? Because like, I'm just checking them on the tracker, I think it was, like, where are they? And Lee, my buddy who's always pranking and you can never tell if he's being honest, tells me, oh yeah, she fell and hit her knee. And I'm like, oh, is she okay? He's like, I don't know, I left her. And he told me he left her and then like just hung up. And so I'm sitting there like freaking out, thinking my wife's out there by herself. She's hurt. My friend that's supposed to be running with her just left her. And then I find out like 10 minutes later, Valan finally texted me or something like that and said that he was joking. He's still there.
Oh.
And I was so upset.
It go for a long time.
Oh yeah, he let it go.
Minutes.
Yeah, I was upset.
You're laughing at that for a good time. But that was Lee motivating me. He kept telling me, he's like, oh, I think we're going to miss cutoff. And I'd run a little bit. And it was just really, really difficult for me. And
well, you finished. I
did finish.
It was
and
9
I felt
hours.
bitter. I cried it in, and then it was bitter because they had put up all the stuff. Like they're like race supposed to have beer after, and
they didn't put it up. They had sold out. All of it was gone.
They'd not sold out. They were supposed to give it to every runner.
Well, yeah, true, but it was all gone.
It was all gone. The race wasn't over. I didn't cut off, and all the stuff was gone. So
what was cut off in that race? Was it like 10 hours maybe?
Yeah, but I was pissed.
Yeah, I know.
I'm like, race director.
Yeah.
Here. Like, no.
Well, not yet, but soon.
Yeah, soon.
Yeah.
All right.
So then that gets us into COVID 2020.
So then after that race, I do a bunch of rehab, probably like 6 weeks of rehab I'm doing.
Yeah, because your knee.
And then I get back to training, and I decide that maybe I should try to do a half marathon, like a real one for a road. And so I trained for a half marathon, and I like really trained.
Yeah.
Like, was ready. I signed up for a half marathon, and this would have been April. No, it was March. It was like March because it was right at the cusp.
Which race was this?
That half marathon, the America something or other in Knoxville. I can't remember what it was called.
Okay.
But so it was about March or April 2020. So.
Hold on. Okay, so go back and say it was about 2020 or whatever.
Okay, so I signed up for the half marathon. It's about March 2020. And we all know what happens in March of 2020.
Yeah.
Everything shuts down. So I do a virtual version of the race with Lee at exactly 6 feet away from me. We run it, and I get like a sub 2 hour half marathon. To this date is my PR of just me running with Lee.
Yeah.
Doing half marathon.
I think you did like a 154.
154.
Something like that.
So I feel pretty good about that.
Like you beat that though later at the at another. You ran another half marathon.
Yeah, I that was when I decided that I didn't like road racing.
Okay. All right.
I just sandbagged that one.
Anyway, so that was, you said, March of 2020.
Yes.
And then still in COVID times. Did you do any trail races in 2020? I know like one of the first ones I was able to do after COVID was No Business. That was October 2020.
Snake Bite was the first race I did. That was 2021.
Okay. And that was March-ish time frame?
No, it was like June. It was hot.
Some
That was when 2020 was when we launched the race company.
was it?
Yeah, because we were
All right, 'cause it was COVID. Yeah. Okay.
1.5 minutes.
Yeah. So let's go down that road.
So during that time, where am I going with this? I decided it'd be really cool. Where we lived was middle of nowhere.
Yeah, very rural. Jamestown, Tennessee. If you know, the No Business 100 is the town that's kind of in, but this was actually in the city of Jamestown.
So we were working really hard to build like a running community in that area.
Started a run club.
We did like a brewery run. And I was like, wow, it'd be really cool if we could have a half marathon. And so I, from scratch, built a half marathon in this place and put on a half marathon in the middle of COVID. And we had people from all over the state.
Oh yeah, people came from Knoxville, came over. People from Nashville came because it was like literally one of the only races put on during COVID. But
yeah, I got some flack for it. But where we lived in Tennessee, it was like
it was normal.
It was normal.
Yeah, it was fine. So yeah, it was, and people that wanted to start later, you allowed them to start later, so it wasn't like in a big group.
Yeah,
kind of thing, and it was fine. But yeah, so we started the race company, did that. It's Just Running Productions, and put on the Run the Pass half marathon.
Yep.
And then
for 2 years before we moved.
And then that fall, you put on did you do the first year? I think it was the first year you did that as well. The Shake Your Tail Feather 5K on Thanksgiving. Because there wasn't a Thanksgiving 5K in the town at all. So did that.
Built that from the ground up.
Yep.
Running community.
Yeah. And then we also, when we lived in Tennessee, we had a property with 7 acres. And so I built a 2-mile trail on the property, and it's pretty scenic. It was ran around a pond, a lake thing. It was pretty. And so we ended up putting on did we do that year in 2020 as well?
Yep. Same thing.
Yeah. Oh, that was the first year it was just me, Lee, and Brandon though that ran.
Oh yeah. And it was just
the 3 of us just in the field. So, right. Okay. So we first did a 6-hour race. It was just a fat ass. It was just me, Lee, and Brandon that ran the whole thing. And it was literally in like a 1.5 acre field. And it was a track that I had mowed that was like a maze. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
And so I think I ended up getting like 32 miles in the 6 hours. It was wild. And so then the following year, I built a 2-mile trail, and then it expanded, and we ended up doing a 6 and a 12-hour race, having people come out to our property and run. And it was a lot of fun. And we did that 2 other years.
Yeah. We were building that pretty good until we
decided to
go.
Yeah. So 2021, you said you did the snake bite. The Yeti snake bite.
So I did the Yeti
50K.
50K, yes. The Yeti snake bite 50K. It was tail end of COVID, so the field was pretty local. Like I think they were only letting like people in the state come to it. But I ran that.
Wasn't the state? That was Georgia.
It was like a really, I guess so. It was in he closed it made it smaller, so it was less people.
Yeah.
Anyhow, I ran that.
You had to wear a mask too, didn't you? Like at aid stations? Yeah.
So ridiculous. A cloth mask in Georgia in June. It was like, I pulled it out of my pocket. It was like
just drenched.
It was so disgusting. But so I did that race, and I think I ran it. It was like,
that was so me and Anders and Declan, the 2 boys, crewed Valan. It was just fun. I did a little video about it, or there's some video footage of it. But yeah, no, you ran a 6-hour. I don't remember what 6-hour. It was like a 29-mile 50K, but you did like a 6-hour and change.
Shorting me those miles.
But you did well. You got 2nd place overall.
I did get 2nd place, female.
Yeah,
not overall.
Well, 2nd place female.
2nd place
okay,
female.
Right.
Yeah, that was the one and only time I ever got a spot
on the podium.
In a podium for it. So I have accomplished things.
You did good. You did great. Yeah, it was a good race.
Yeah, and I had really trained well for that race.
That was probably one of the only.
That was the only race that I just didn't have any problems with.
Well, you didn't have any injuries leading up to the race either. Which
I was in good health. Everything went really, really well.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Okay. So what was after that? I'm trying to think, like, that was 21. That was the snakebite 50K.
Okay.
So what came after that?
Oh, why are you asking me? That was my mental breakdown. He came after that at some point.
Was it in 21?
When did the kids go to public school?
Oh gosh, you should
It
get
was
that. I don't know
it
that.
was like in January. It was that summer or that January. So I was super stressed with the home life still, and I was still going through a lot of anxiety and like issues with that. And so some of my kids have some different issues.
Yeah, they're on the spectrum.
They're on the spectrum, yeah. So two of the kids are on the spectrum, and it's just really difficult doing schoolwork. Terrible. So I was probably coming into Steven's office. What is there stuff?
Oh, we totally forgot. Sorry, go ahead. So the Yeti snakebite was actually in September of 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. It's 2020.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
So go ahead.
Okay, so then 20. Oh, the Xterra race was after that.
No, it was down here. You did the Pistol 10 miler in 2019. You did the Xterra race in 2019 in July. Then December was the 50K that we talked about.
Yeah.
And then you did the Yeti. Next, we got this. But anyway, go on to your other story.
So
anyway,
so I was having like mental breakdowns. I was like coming into your office. You worked from home, just crying like almost every single day. And it was about that time that we decided to put the two oldest kids into public school. It was like mid-year.
Yeah.
We just put them into public school.
And this was, again, while we were near Jamestown. So it was a 30-minute drive every day, one way, to drop them off and then go back and pick them up another 30 minutes. So it was a lot of time.
And I don't know, if you have kids, the drive home after they've been in school all day, not fun, especially when they're on the spectrum. So anyway, so that was still stressful. Where am I going with this story?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know. Just let you talk about it.
Okay. Yeah. So I was just really still dealing with a lot of like mental crap.
Still running through all of this as well.
Still running through all of this and just trying to like run through my mental health. Essentially, that was like my only thing. Like I wasn't dealing with it. I wasn't seeing a psychologist or a counselor. I was just running. That was the only thing that I was doing to really help my anxiety and my everything. And like, it really wasn't working.
Yeah.
It was helping, but it wasn't working. I was still very messed up.
Yeah. So anyway, you were trying to run through, you said it wasn't working.
Nope.
Kind of thing.
I mean, it was kind of working.
I was helping.
I was helping. Yeah. But I was really unhappy. Even when I put the kids in school, I was still really unhappy. Just not a good place. I hadn't even realized that I had postpartum before. I was just kind of forgotten about that, kept going.
Yeah. Well, what made that get better? You said it wasn't working that well. I mean, the running was helping a little bit, but I mean, ultimately, like, what did pull you out of that?
We moved to Colorado.
Well, that would have been not till December 2022.
It's like up and down. Like I didn't really know much about the things I was going through. I just thought it was normal. Like I would get super anxious before races, and then you would hear me. I just get like, and even to this day, it still gets like that. But just like major GI upset before races, like major anxiety, like panic.
And to go along with the, I guess, postpartum depression or depression that you were in with the kids, you also have always dealt with like seasonal depression.
Oh yeah.
With, the weather in Tennessee in the wintertime is very gray and gloomy and wet. It doesn't snow, it rains and it sleets and it's just gray all the time and miserable. So that affected your mood greatly.
Yeah. You noticed?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And so then again, that was, like we said, what, 21?
21. Yeah. We're up to 21. We put the kids in school.
Yeah. And so, but then in January of 21, so the beginning of the year, we ran the Snowbird Challenge 50K, which was part of the South Carolina Upstate Ultra Club or whatever it's called. I think there's an M in there for something. So I think it was like SCUM. I can't remember. But ran the Snowbird Challenge, which was a really fun race, different format for a 50K, but a lot of fun. And you did pretty darn well there.
Yeah.
As well. You ended up 26th overall.
Hey, look at me.
And you did a 5:05 for the 50K. But of course, for those people, this is one that I never tell people like my fastest 50K time because like I ran like a 3:35 there or a 3:40 something, but that's not accurate. I mean, I did, but it's like, so the format of this is you ran, I think it was a 2-mile loop or a 2.5-mile loop, and you had to get it done and be ready to start the next loop every like 40 minutes or an hour.
Yes, you're getting
you get a long break
between each one.
So I was out kicking it for like, a 7-minute pace, 7:30 pace for 2 miles, then come back and rest. And so you did the same thing as well.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, I never tell people like, oh yeah, I ran a 3 whatever hour 50K. That's BS. Like,
I should start saying that I ran a 5-hour 50K. That sounds really
yeah, 5:05. Yeah. 5:05. It was good. It was a fun race though. Really fun.
Yeah.
And then after that, you tackled the Seven Sisters 25K in North Carolina. That was kind of your first exposure to like
mountain race.
Yeah, pretty rugged terrain, elevation gain.
Kevin did that one with me.
Yeah.
A good buddy, Kevin, agreed to. See, most of my races I end up signing up for have something to do with the fact that someone I know has signed up for that race and it seems like a good idea. That's really...
Or more accurately, you've talked someone else to sign up to run with you.
That's also happened.
You would talk a lot of people into running races with you.
That's true. Dude, I have turned some people into some trail and ultra runners. But I love being with people. That's my favorite part of running is just being around people. And that's just always been my motivation is just being around people. So that race was really cool.
So that was April of 2021.
Yeah.
Now, what's not on Ultra Sign Up was your first attempt at 100 miles because that was in 2021.
Hey.
And so
that is true.
Yeah, because that was on Run Sign Up. But yeah, so that was you attempted to run the No Business 100 in October.
First time, yeah.
And but take us back. Let's go back to
the summer.
I think it was July.
Yeah.
In Tennessee, a training run on Black Mountain near Crossville, Tennessee, Crab Orchard area. And take us to that run. What happened on that run?
Yeah, so that was fun times. So I was running. I think it was only supposed to be like a 12 to 15.
It was like a 12-mile run, I think.
Yeah, so it was a 12-mile run. And they have, if you run out 10 miles, you'll get to Ozone Falls waterfall. And I, in my infinite wisdom, said, well, it's just like 8 more miles, right? Is that my math?
Yeah.
8 miles. So I was like, well, I'm going to run all the way out there. So I ran all the way out to Ozone and came back. And it was fine. I was tired. But on the way back.
And this is a pretty, like, there's some rugged parts of this trail. The terrain is very technical in places, lots of rock. And if you do that full 20 miler, you're getting like 4,500 feet of elevation gain. So it's not easy.
Yes. But it was okay.
Yeah.
I was doing well in this training block.
You were doing great.
I was doing great. But what had happened was, the last 6 miles, you're running along this ridge and kind of out of nowhere, there was this thunderstorm. Very aggressive, very dangerous.
Like cloud to ground lightning.
Probably about 20 feet in front of me, I saw ground contact with like a lightning and all the animals in the woods just scamper. And so I, in my infinite anxiety, take off running as fast as I can to get off of this.
Naturally so.
Naturally. So I am like fatigued, running at paces I should not be running. And then I'm just running and running and running, and I'm running down these slick trails that are really rocky, dangerous, downhills. Bad news. And it was on that run that I felt my hip just start to feel bad.
So discomfort and pain and
didn't know what it was at the time. How many weeks out were we from the race at that point? Like 12.
That was like July, so that would have been it was because that would have been August, September, October. So about 10 and 12 weeks.
So I do the basic runner thing. I take like 3 days off. Try to run, no bueno. Go to PT. I'm in PT. I'm not running.
You still just a lot of hip.
And so I biked that 10 weeks before the race, all I did was bike. And I biked a lot.
Yeah, Lee let her borrow his indoor trainer and bike. So then you were on that thing in the basement.
And I just was not willing to let it go.
Yeah.
And none of my friends were smart enough to tell me. If you know ultra runners, no one's going to really tell you that you shouldn't do something. Anyway, so I towed the line of the race.
This is October of 21.
And honestly, it was going really well until it wasn't.
That's always the case.
I was running at, I think I remember saying on the video that you did like 10 miles, and I was like, oh, my hip turned off. I don't feel it anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is great. And so I'm running. I get to like mile, when did I get to Blue Heron? I was 40.
Let's see, in 21, it would have been like 30 and then 37 leaving Blue Heron.
Okay. So at that point, that was the longest I'd ever run.
Yes.
Okay. So as long as so when we're at Blue Heron, I have a panic attack.
Major panic attack.
Major
Anxiety
panic
attack. Yeah.
Need full grounding and everything. It was bad. I don't think that anybody standing around me during that time thought that I was actually going to get up out of the chair. But it did. And I left Blue Heron and I got about 13 or probably 10 more miles and my hip just gave out. It just broke. And so I'm limping along at like
very slow.
Very slow.
Yeah. Like 23, 24, 25 minutes.
I made cutoff, but there was another 8-mile section and I wouldn't have made that cutoff. So I just pulled the plug at that moment.
And that was like 54 miles.
54 miles in.
Yeah.
Which coincidentally is still my distance PR, but
we'll get there.
So yeah, and then I was just in pain. And so a couple months after that, I went to a specialist, MRI. Turns out I had a labral tear.
So you did 54 miles on a torn labrum.
54 miles on a torn labrum. So it sounds like a good story from that perspective. And so 2022.
Yep. March of 2022.
March 2022, I went in for labral repair and had that done.
Yep.
And then rehab for that.
Long time. A lot of PT, there's a whole video series on the YouTube channel about her labral surgery, her recovery. There's a big series. So if you have any labral questions and all that, go check that on YouTube for sure. But yeah, it took you a long time to rehab from that.
It was probably over a year too before I felt like normal.
Yeah. Well, because
I didn't run a whole lot.
You didn't run until, I don't even remember now. I have to go back and watch my own video, but it was probably like 6 months after the surgery or something. It was a long time.
I was doing like little runs because I had a really good surgeon and he had a very, very specific protocol for getting back to running. And I had good PT too. So like throughout the process, I probably thought I'd retorn it at least 2 times.
And so this was in 2022 as we get towards like the summer and fall. And that's when we start, like the fall was when we took a trip out here to Colorado to explore possibly moving.
Oh yeah.
Because I had run a race. I ran the Beaverhead 50K, the Beaverhead 100K in July in Idaho. And I tried to convince Val to move to Idaho because it was just gorgeous. And she didn't want to move to Idaho. Then I said, well, how about Montana? Because it was also gorgeous. And she's like, no. And she said she might consider Colorado. And so then we took a trip in October. We flew out here for a weekend, stayed with some friends, looked at some houses.
Yeah, mind you, like during all this racing and stuff in Tennessee, I was still struggling with feeling isolated. I had really great friends, and I still do in Tennessee, and I miss them dearly. But I felt very disconnected. I was spending like 2 hours driving the kids back and forth to school, and I was just like.
And everything else too, like all the kids' doctor's appointments were an hour away. We had to drive an hour to go to Cookeville to go to like a good doctor or to like Zoe's dance class or whatever activity. Our church was a 40-minute drive to get to. It was just, we were very remote.
Mm-hmm. I was not doing well mentally.
Yeah.
So what better way to heal yourself than to move across the country?
Yeah, which we ended up doing in December of 2022 is when we moved. And then that process, Valan sold the race company.
I did.
Or the race equipment to somebody in Jamestown. Because we're hoping that, that would be put on some more, so that sold that. got out of the race directing business, which was hard because we both enjoyed it. You really enjoyed the organizational aspect and the running it. I mean, you loved that aspect of it.
There's not much money much money in the business, though.
No, of course not. Of course not.
If you think race directing is going to make you a fortune, no.
Yeah.
No,
And not until you get to be like, some of these 200-mile people charging $1,500 for an entry fee. But
I always cared much more for the experience than for the money, because that's just
definitely. Yeah. Well, yeah, but then we moved out here to Colorado in December 22, and then you were still recuperating, coming back from injury, still in your surgery from the labral tear.
Yeah, because I hadn't been running very much because we were preparing to move across the country. So I was doing all that stuff.
So when was the Kuchara race that you ran? Because
that was second. Ramparty was first.
Ramparty was first?
Yeah, Ramparty was first.
Okay. So then you were finally able to start training, get back to running, follow a good plan. You were getting pretty good fit again.
Yeah.
Trail running.
Speed work, hill work, loving running in Colorado. There's not a copious amount of things to trip over.
Yeah. But you also did not have the humidity, which was fantastic. However, you had altitude, and you did and still struggle at altitude, even though we've lived here now 3 years. I
still have a problem.
Yeah. Have a problem with running at altitude.
Yep.
So, but yeah, you end up signing up for the Ramparty 50K in May of 23. It's a race put on by Air Viper Running here in Colorado Springs.
I talked to a friend who had never done an ultra into it.
Yeah. There you go.
And so I ran with her. I was really well trained for that race, and not to say that I would ever have wanted to leave her, but I think I did a 7:27. 7:27. I could have ran it faster. She was struggling with some injuries, and so I was wanting to stick with her. And so that made it slower. But I was well trained. I would have been at least a half an hour faster. If not more. And I felt really.
But you finished, and you got it done.
That was great.
Another successful ultra marathon post surgery, which is a huge boost just to know that like you could do it again.
Yeah.
That had to have been a big relief.
Yeah. And so then what was after that?
Well, you said it was Kuchara, because that's not on here either.
Oh,
sign up
because I didn't finish, and they don't report do not finish in that race series.
Okay. Well, that was what did you sign up for? Was it a 50?
It was a 55K or 60K.
I can't remember.
I don't know. I really didn't train well for it.
And this was like the first race at altitude too. This one went up to like 11,000 feet.
11,000 feet. It was like the side of like a ski resort. It was the first.
It was like an escarpment. Yeah.
It was an escarpment. So I really didn't train for it. I got a free entry into the race, which is why I did it.
Did you get a free entry for that?
My run club here in Colorado.
All right. Okay.
So I got a free entry into the race. And it was really, really hard. I couldn't breathe. It was just.
How far did you get in that one?
It's like 14 months.
Was that it? I remember you called me.
I was like, this is terrible.
You were maybe like 11 miles in. You called me, and I was here with the kids, and I was talking to you, trying to like get you to go on and talk you into moving and going. And I
hadn't even gotten to the hard part of the race.
No. And it was just, but you were at like 10,000 feet when you called me, and you were like really struggling with your breathing. And so ultimately did you miss a cutoff, or did you just pull the plug?
I just pulled the plug. I was like, because I was really, because it was going to get technical.
Yeah.
And I was really scared because I was tripping over things that were ridiculous to trip over because my legs were so heavy. So no, I DNF'd that.
Okay. But then later that year in September, you ran the 24 hours of Palmer. 24 hours.
I did train for that. I trained well for that, but my goals were very lofty.
Yeah. Well, what was your goal for that race?
I thought I could do 100 miles.
So the 24 hours of Palmer is a 0.8 mile loop around a lake, pancake flat. I mean, there might be like 3 feet of elevation gain per loop. It's very flat, crushed gravel, ideal course for a 24-hour race or a 12-hour race.
I was not trained for a 100-mile race.
No.
I was well trained for a 50K.
Yeah. But you went out and you did race and you ran. And I recall you having some injuries at this as well, didn't you?
I got GI problems during the race for like a couple hours. And then I got about 50.
Yeah,
It
was 50.
50 because that's my.
Yeah, 50 miles, 50.8 miles.
And then I was getting like sharp shooting pains in my foot.
Okay, right.
And I couldn't pick up my foot anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so then we pulled the plug again.
Yep. I remember, because I had been home most of the day with the kids, and I put them to bed, came out to see you for a little bit, and then I was going to come back home, and you were going to continue running, but then you ended up coming home with me, and it was like 10 o'clock at night or something like that. You ended up coming home.
Yeah.
Maybe 12 o'clock. I can't remember what time it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then so after that, though, at least the next thing that showed up on Ultra Sign Up was the next 24 hours of Palmer. But didn't you run something else in there in 24? After that, I thought you had run another. It was Stories. Didn't you run Stories?
I did run Stories.
That was in 24, wasn't it?
Probably.
Yeah, that was another 50K, right?
No, it was a 6 hour. Right, it was a timed race.
Right. Okay.
I don't think I got
that. Was the one that was really muddy, like
it's really muddy. Right? Yeah, it was like a mud pit.
It was like January in Colorado.
Yeah,
there was a lot of mud, a lot of snow.
Yeah,
and
pretty slow.
Yeah, but you did it.
I did. Yeah, it was fine.
Had fun.
I didn't have any problems with that.
Yeah, and then you 2024, you ran the your training leading up to the No Business 100. This was going to be your redemption run for No Business. Mm-hmm. Training was going great.
Talked someone else into doing the first 100 mile.
Yes. It's like the third or fourth person you've talked to.
This is my friend August. Literally met her on like a group run with our run club. And I was like, oh, I'm doing this 100-mile race and trying like just talking up the race. And she's like, I'll do it with you. And I was like, well, now we're best friends. Because only an idiot would sign up for this race with me.
Yeah.
So anyway, so training for that was really good.
Yeah.
Again, until it wasn't.
It was the most consistent miles you would run. I mean, because you were doing
some point.
You're running, 45-ish miles at a couple weeks in a row, which is for you was phenomenal. I mean, you never run that consistently. Mm-hmm. And then what happened?
What did happen?
I was hoping you remember. I don't remember. No, I remember you had an injury.
What did I injure?
You had an injury.
I injured something.
Yes. Because you were getting dry needling. You were in PT again for a long time.
It was behind my knee. The space, it was my ankle. I had problems with my foot and my ankle, but I was also having problems in my knee. So it's always my right side. Always my right side. I think one of my legs is longer than the other, but that's here nor there, really. It was something with the back of my knee and something with my ankle, like the space behind. Anyway, so yeah, I was not running, and this was
a
6,
like 8 weeks.
It was like 5 or 6 because I was like,
well, it happened like 8 or 9 weeks before the race.
Yeah, and I was doing some running.
You were doing some running. You were in PT, but then it got to the point where it was like 5 weeks before the race, and you didn't run a step.
No,
for 5 weeks.
Yeah, because I was having so much pain doing it. I said, okay, I'm just gonna stop running because it was so painful. I was like, maybe if I just let it heal, my fitness will carry me enough to do this.
True ultra runner. True. I'm just gonna rest it a little bit and then show up to this race, 100-mile race. And
I thought that I really, because I had really worked on my mindset. I was really felt mentally strong. I was in a good place. I was doing really, really well. And so I really thought that I could do it.
Yeah. Granted, all this time as well. So when we moved here to Colorado, Valan was stay-at-home mom. Yeah. The kids were in school. They were all in public school.
Yeah.
But then Val decided she wanted to go back to school and get her graduate degree in mental health counseling.
Yeah.
And so that was, was that in the beginning of 23 when you started?
Yes.
Okay. So beginning of 23, you started that.
So yes.
So all this time, you're training. You're in grad school. Doing grad school things. Yeah. Yeah. And so a lot busy. But anyway, yeah, five weeks, no running. Still go to the race. Still go to the No Business 100 in October of 24. So this is just a couple, 5-6 months ago.
So about 14 miles into the race at this point, what was wrong with me? My IT.
Your IT band.
My IT just
got angry.
Was pissed.
Yeah.
So pissed. And you crewed me up as best as you possibly could.
Oh yeah, that was at Bandy,
Yeah.
the aid station.
And so I am like in a world of hurt for a very, very long time. Mentally, man, I hung in like a champ. I never wanted to quit. I never had a desire to quit. So I'm just like dying. August is just chucking along with me. And then I think we just kept consistently coming in way too late.
I remember it was Duncan Hollow, which in this direction was, I think, 37 miles. And I think you were supposed to be at this aid station. I can't remember exactly now, but I want to say it was like 7 o'clock, something around that time. You were supposed to be in, and you weren't. And then like it kept getting darker, kept getting, less and less people coming in. And Lee and I are there, and we're like, no, was it Lee? No, it wasn't Lee. Lee was running.
He was running, yeah.
Who was I crewed with? Oh, William and Kevin were there crewing with me.
He's gonna make jokes.
I know. Yeah, William's totally gonna make a comment about that. But we're sitting there waiting and waiting and waiting and wondering where in the heck is Valan? Where in the heck is Valan? Yeah, you didn't get in there until like 9 o'clock.
Right.
It was like 2 hours past you were supposed to be there. Still had time on cutoff. I think cutoff was only like maybe an hour, 40 minutes to an hour after you left.
Right.
It was close.
Yeah.
But I remember telling August, like I pulled August to the side and I was like, hey, if you can, like you need to give out a move, or like you might need to make a decision to leave her, is what I told her. Because you were in a world of hurt, a lot of pain. I didn't want August's race to get like ruined trying to stay with you, but she's a true friend, and that's what she was there for, was to be with you. And so anyway, yeah, you guys left the aid station.
Yes.
And went down the hill. And
I'm crying down this hill. It's like I'm going slower down hills than I am uphill. And I'm just like in tears. Every step down the hill is just in tears. And I'm just trucking along. So we're just going and going and going. And I don't know how many more miles after that, but just not very fast. August's foot starts doing something and she's like ready to peace out. She's like, "What have you done?" And I'm like, I'm still like not
mentally, you're still
like conceding at this point. But it gets to a point where we're like, I'm looking and watching. I'm like, we're not gonna make it this cutoff. And so we get to the aid station at 54 miles
again.
And they look at this and they're like, "Go ahead and have a seat." So I've DNF'd at no business twice now at 54 miles.
Right. Still your distance PR.
Yeah.
Still had had the same thing now. This was the third time you've gone to a race injured, trying to see if you could just grit it out and do it.
Yeah.
And so at this point, after no business or during no business, I was becoming a certified coach. And so after that, we decided to work together, and I would train you now. And so now I'm training her on a very slow process with her injury history. And we have some goals set in the future for her to go back to no business. She still wants to go back and conquer that race and get it. But I guess, that was 2 DNFs at no business. You had the DNF at Kachara. So
we're just recapping my failure.
We're just going to go through all your failures. No, you married me. No.
Your words, not mine.
No. But anyway, these 3 DNFs.
Right.
What have you learned through the DNF process?
Well, first, I learned the mental game. I think to the extent that it can be learned. I know that people that have done 100 miles will tell you that there's a lot more mental in the second half of the race. But I've just grown so much in like belief of my abilities and like just realizing what it will take. And I think that grew each time the race.
Yeah. Now, did some of that spark your desire to be a mental health counselor, or what kind of like what made you want to go back to grad school to be a mental health counselor?
Oh yeah, my own crazy.
There's a lot of that. No.
thing. No, I mean, I started to feel better when I got to Colorado, but I still didn't know what I was doing. And man, the growth that I've had in the program of just like understanding myself and understanding things I've gone through and really just like feeling confident to like work through like the mental struggles and like what like setbacks, like mental setbacks you have. And just I got really interested in like ultra runners, like just the background of ultra runners in general and how
A lot of them have like addiction problems.
so traumatically like affected so many are. Um and I don't know if that answers your question at all. I'm just going off on
Well, you said you got interested in ultra runners, so like, is that something you want to work with in the future? Is like athletes, runners?
Oh yeah, yeah. I would love to be able to work with athletes. Yeah, I've actually been working on some projects to that end, honestly. Just helping other runners, athletes in general, just overcome those mental blocks and those setbacks that really keep them from finishing a race. My two have been predominantly physical setbacks, but if I'm being honest, the training along the way had its own mental setbacks that led to that.
Especially in 21.
If that makes sense. Like there's mental setback of like at 40 miles, I just didn't think I could go on anymore. And that's real. But there's also the mental setback of like, oh, I can't go out on my runs today because I have to do X, Y, and Z. And I feel guilty because I'm a mom and I should just not do that strength training today because
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah.
So like there's a lot more to it than just physical or mental. It's all.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'll put my coaching hat on for a minute, and your two no business attempts, I look at those and I'll see your training was great until the injuries. And so those like DNFs, I think were just result of trying to overcome an injury with grit, which just couldn't happen. Because you had the grit, you just the body gave out because the injuries both times. Kuchara, that one was probably more mental because you had never really been at altitude. There was the breathing involved, of course, where that's going to play into like the struggle of when you can't breathe. That's pretty scary.
I also ran that race by myself. Maybe it wasn't just socially.
That was honestly one of the first, maybe the only trail race you've ever run like alone.
That I just decided.
Well, the Yeti snakebite you did by yourself.
Yes, I did.
But this was different because this was like mountains, rugged.
It was probably one of the scarier races I tried on my own. Yeah.
Yeah. But no, so you want to work with athletes, runners, all that. At some point, we'll have to, we're already over an hour into this podcast, but at some point in the future, we'll have to have you on and like talk more about the mental health side of ultra running and how people can use it to overcome whether that's addiction or just a depression. There's plenty of science to back that. The endorphins that get flowing because of that is so great for your mental state.
Yeah, but in that same vein, and I won't talk too much since we're already an hour over, but when it becomes your identity to a point and you get hurt, that can also mess you up pretty good too.
Yeah, we both dealt with that.
Yeah, so I'm really interested in that too. Like because we've both been there. We've both sat through like those really deep physical setbacks and how much it messes. Like when you put all your identity eggs into the ultra running basket and that's taken away from you.
Yeah.
That hits real bad.
That's tough. That's very tough.
So I would love to be able to work with people going through that and help them through it.
Yeah, we definitely need to talk about that more because I know for me personally, like you helped me tremendously to get through like everyone on the channel and on the podcast knows if they've listened, I had a hip replacement and like that was all my eggs were in that basket and like I couldn't run for a year basically. And still's questioning in the air of, how much in the mountains I can do and all this other stuff now. And it's just, you've helped me tremendously through that. And that's part of the reason I saw a therapist And they told me that, they didn't really think they could help me much because I had such a great support system at home, which was my wife, who was a grad student for mental health counseling. So I was getting free therapy at home.
Oh man.
All right. Well, we are, coming up on an hour and 10 minutes here, but
A long
what,
home.
what's on the horizon for you? Any races?
So
I know I'm your coach and I know these.
yeah, so my friend August talked me into doing one of the multitude of races she's doing. That's her own conversation. Signing up for lots of races. But so she talked me into doing Endure 12-hour race in May, which my coach thinks is a bad idea. But here I am. I've already paid for it. So I'm gonna commit to his guidance on that and not overdo it, because I have been going really, really slow in my training. So I had to recuperate after no business, and so I've only been
Really, I've been running for like 2 weeks.
Is that it?
Honestly, like maybe 3 weeks.
3 weeks, and the race is in May. So
Yeah.
Mathin' ain't mathin'.
Yeah, but no, that's the whole big picture is no business again.
Yes.
And what we're planning on is 2027, which seems like a long time away. But with Val's injury history, we want to train her smart, get her strong physically, a lot of strength training.
Yes.
And running consistently without injury and putting up the miles.
Strength training has been the missing piece. I know
I got that.
It's like the running community is really finally figuring that out, but it really has been the missing piece that I'm going to be focusing on with I'm pushing almost 40 now.
Yep. Still, I got a 30-year-old.
So that's like really my main big picture goal. Graduating in December from grad school. And
yes.
Figuring out what life looks like as a working person that runs.
Working mom and running an ultra runner training as well, and it's going to be interesting to see how that works. But we'll get it done. We always cross those bridges when we come to them.
Oh, that's our saying.
All right. Well, it's been fun chatting with you. I always love chatting with you. It's fun. That's why I married you. But I definitely want to have you back on, talk more mental health side at some point in the future of overcoming injury and those setbacks, identity, and how there's some mental health or some, what's it called? Some theories of counseling that can benefit.
Oh, yeah.
Those people.
Yeah.
Going through those situations.
Yeah. You can have a mental health coach, just like you have a running coach.
Yep. Definitely. So, all right. Well, it's been fun. Thanks for coming on. Hope everyone enjoyed it. It was a little bit different style podcast, and we're in the same room with one microphone. So hopefully you guys could hear okay out there. But it's been fun chatting, and look forward to having you on again.
All right. Thank you.
If you enjoyed this episode of the Adventure Jogger, please consider joining our Patreon and be sure to follow us on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and TikTok for more content like this. Without your continued support, we would not be able to produce this type of content. So thank you so much to everyone that has listened, followed along, subscribed, liked, commented, you name it, donated on Patreon. Thank you.